As I look back at the 12 and a half years I've been in real estate, I often get asked, how did you build it? How did you go from 0 to 500 transactions in such a short amount of time? Well, the truth is I have figured that out, and I'm actually going to tell you the one DM at the end of this video that changed my entire trajectory of my career. What's up, guys? I'm Jeremy Kane with the Wolfpack, and I am more than happy to dive into this today because I truly love helping agents build a foundation. And one of the biggest things that I get is people aren't from where they're trying to do business. So building by a sphere seems such like a foreign object. And the truth is, when I got into the industry, I really dialed down and I focused heavily on expanding my sphere. That's something that I absolutely would not trade for the world. If you're interested in learning this or developing a strategy just like that, I can coach you for absolutely free. If you choose to partner with me in the record-breaking group, the Wolfpack, you get access to the #1 social media training for real estate agents, #1 AI training for real estate agents, depending on which route you go. But I would love to have a conversation with you about exactly how we can partner and take this to the next level. But let's get into this right now. So when I got into the business, I realized that there was a lot of different opportunities, right? You have buying leads, you have, social media just getting kind of off the ground and people getting, stuff organically. People are working on paid leads. Then you have obviously the traditional things that are still around, the open houses and all of that hustle. And what I realized is that I wanted to work with the people that I already knew. They already knew me, and they came to me by referral. I dove heavy into the Brian Buffini world, and this was a true game changer for me. This was a way to build a business that didn't include a lot of upfront costs, because honestly, I didn't have a ton of upfront costs to put down towards my business. What I did have is, a connection with a lot of people via social media, both from my high school days and college days. I was in a position where it wasn't too long since we reached out. Everyone was kind of trying to figure out the social media thing, and it was huge for me. And this was before DMs were called DMs, and it just made sense to connect that way. It felt lighter to me. I had, been to a conference early on in my career about text messages and how, the response rate to text messages is absolutely through the roof. Probably not as much anymore now that we've gone to a lot of the spam junk text messages. But at that time, I was like, okay, well, if I can communicate with these people in a text form that isn't super intrusive, and me providing value is exactly where I wanted to focus. So I did just that. I built up a great sphere of people that I know. It wasn't LinkedIn, but kind of on LinkedIn, first, second, third connections. If we have those connections, it was a really easy way to kind of grow my business. Then I started to realize what these connections could do for me, how the referral, introductions were converting for very few amount of dollars, just time committed to, having the conversations. And they were warmer leads versus somebody who accidentally clicked on a picture or just got, excited to see the pictures. That's not a lead, that's a click and a data point, as I often say on this channel. So I started to kind of build these relationships through instant messenger on Facebook. And it was a very simple outreach. It was just a check-in. It wasn't, super salesy. In fact, I didn't want to be the first to ask, if they had referrals or real estate or mention any of that. So I developed this scenario. Now, before connect with the connectors was a thing, I then started to realize that through having these conversations, people were raising their hand, telling me that they offered this service or they were an entrepreneur just like me. And then I realized, okay, now I can be a resource to everybody that I connect with, whether they're in my sphere, whether they're not, whatever it is. And it was a very simple way to collect data. It wasn't as upfront. It wasn't as, I'm never too busy for your referrals, but it certainly helped me kind of understand. And then as I transitioned from, okay, this person likely is going to buy, I'm going to reach out to them, to, okay, this person, could need my assistance in building a business and helping out with that. So that's where I kind of built the connect with the connectors kind of idea that you see now that has absolutely exploded my real estate career. And, just as an aside, I have an entire course built on how I built my entire career based on all of this. So much further than a DM. And the beauty is, if you choose to partner with me, you can book a call at reagentwolfpack.com. If you choose to partner with me, you get it all for free, as well as direct access to me to help you with it. So as we kind of started building these systems that I now have in a course, we kind of started, okay, like, yes, I have a person for that. I have a cake baker. I realized that it wasn't just lenders, appraisers, contractors, inspectors that I needed to have in my, Rolodex, so to speak, to use an old term. I needed to have a plethora of services, every single service as we can go. It helped also that general contractors were starting to specialize more. There was more specialized, stuff coming to the market. It wasn't more, that's kind of when I feel like as a culture, we went from jack of all trades to, really niching down and focusing on those things. And I always joke that every handyman becomes a GC within 6 months of starting their handyman business. So you got to keep those flow leads rolling, right? Whether it's an HVAC contractor or whatever, because I started to realize that I needed these strategic pieces in my business, not only to help me convert and get through those tough inspections and get it quick and have it, have the service, right? Have an honest, upfront, contractor, but also one that wasn't going to charge an arm and a leg for their, immediate attention. And so building this was awesome. You had multiple opportunities to, connect people. And if you can, it was always my goal to, reach out to someone with a message. And then if there was any referral or any piece of value that I could send them, I wanted to try and send that within, 5 days of connecting. So that was my goal. I would set out and find, people on Facebook groups that needed a service from them, or people that could connect them no matter where they're at in life. Even if it was just a friend, someone going through a similar situation, or, something to do with real estate. I just pushed and pushed and pushed to find a connection for each person that I had a conversation with. And I think what that did was solidify my drive to help other people in ways that oftentimes didn't really benefit me. But when they, someone was talking about real estate, now they knew, and they would say, hey, Jeremy went out of his way to get me a lead or build that relationship. So I would be in the right place at the right time, hence, working by referral and all of that. So as this kind of developed, you can see that it's, developed into a whole system. So what was that one DM? I've kind of alluded to it, but ultimately it was, hey, long time no talk. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to see what you're doing for work these days. So very much, the way I speak, the way I talk, a connection point, and asking them what they did for work. And this was a way for me to understand mostly how I could, help them if they were a small business owner, no matter what it was, right? Because I wanted to find as many small business owners in my local area as humanly possible, because the honest truth is, if I have more of those and we're all in this together, we're all helping each other build, and it grows exponentially. So that was a very easy way to get them to tell me what they did. If they provided a service that I thought could go on my list, I absolutely would add them to it. And, then we would talk. And if they didn't, I would say, okay, cool. Typically, if they didn't, they'd, say they're, hey, I'm an engineer, I'm the president, or I'm the mayor, or whatever it is, right? Typically, if they're president, maybe you can still drive business to that company, but ultimately I meant the president of the United States, right? Can't obviously provide any value, for that piece of it. So then I would, ultimately they would ask me what I did. And, I'd say, oh, that's awesome. I hope that's awesome. Sounds like an awesome career, whatever. I actually just got into real estate. And part of the reason I was asking is because I'm working on building a vendor list, and I want to make sure, that I have the very best people. So if you've had an exceptional experience with anybody, based on your house or in your community, I would love to chat with them, because I'm really focused on driving business to, these small mom and pop or bigger mom and pop kind of outfits. And so that really solidified the relationship. Here's the deal. I told them I was a real estate agent, but I immediately transitioned it back to their experience and if they knew anyone. People feel special when they're like, oh, I do have somebody, and they can make that connection, right? Exactly the foundation that I wanted to do, and loving helping other people build businesses. That's kind of intrinsic in me, but I didn't really realize it until I was starting to have these conversations and build these lists, right? So I accomplished everything that I needed. And then we would talk, check in with the kids, whatever that is, check in with family, scroll their Facebook page really quickly, see what's going on, talk about those things. And then ultimately the conversation would wind down after a couple back and forths. And I would just say, hey, if anyone ever brings up real estate, asks you any questions, I'm a kind of a no pressure guy, but I'd be happy to be a resource to anybody, yourself or anyone you know. Right. So I was able to ask for business in a way that wasn't as direct. They had no idea that was my intention to begin with. I really wanted everyone to know that I was in real estate, but I wanted to see if I could help them or the people that are special to them in one way. There's very few of those conversations that didn't at least give me one connection to someone else. And so as the lesson from all of this has come to play, even though it just started out as a conversation starter, a quick script, something that I utilized, it became a lesson of connecting with the connectors and how valuable connections are in our small business world. And so as I've continued my business, I've dialed it down. I've got some other little one-liner scripts that I have that are available in my course, but ultimately I enjoy helping agents now build their business. And if you're in a place where you're just feeling like you're on the hamster wheel, you're trying to figure out exactly what it is, yes, I get it, right? We all have to be at brokerages. We all have the costs of whatever it is. But if somebody like myself can help you and pour into you on a regular basis through our partnership, I'd be more than happy to discover that. So reach out. I would love to help. I would love to figure out a one-liner script that you can use. Maybe it's something a little bit different. We can tailor it directly to you, because ultimately I want to help you win every single day at the game of real estate. And I know there's a lot of, shiny objects out there. Pay for this lead system, go with this flex team, whatever it is. But the ultimate truth is, if we can build your business, that is by far the most lucrative way to do it. And through connecting with the connectors, it is my opinion that you can build the best, most profitable, lean business that is out there versus, trading dollars for leads and all these things. So if you have any questions, let's go. I would love to have a conversation with you. Either way, partnership or just strategy session, you know where to book the calls in the link below. I provide value like this all the time on my YouTube channel, dropping 2 videos a week. So please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you liked it enough, hit that notification bell. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.